Israeli Palestinian war in the Middle East, which shook the whole world, is currently turning into a dangerous situation. With the killing of the Hezbollah leader by the Israeli army, Iran has now declared war against Israel. Accordingly, 6 countries, namely Israel, Iran, Palestinian Gaza Strip, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, have joined the war in the Middle East, and 5 of these countries are fighting against Israel. Let's talk more in the video. First of all, if you are new to our channel, hit the subscribe button below and join us. So let's go to today's video. The Middle East remains a complex and volatile region where various conflicts, particularly the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, have taken center stage in recent months. The current state of war, specifically between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, has drawn international attention, leading to humanitarian crises, regional instability, and escalating geopolitical tensions. The origins of the latest conflict. The roots of the current war between Israel and Hamas can be traced back decades to the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but the recent hostilities erupted in October 2023. Hamas, a Palestinian militant organization that controls the Gaza Strip, launched a surprise large-scale attack on Israel. Thousands of rockets were fired from Gaza, and Hamas fighters infiltrated Israeli towns and military installations, leading to widespread death and destruction. Israel, in response, launched massive airstrikes and a ground operation aimed at destroying Hamas's military capabilities and infrastructure. The catalyst for the Hamas attack is debated. Some argue that it was in response to the increasing tension over the rights of Palestinians, particularly in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, where Israeli settlements have been expanding. Others believe it was part of a broader strategy by Hamas to assert itself politically and militarily. Humanitarian crisis. The war has had devastating consequences for civilians on both sides, but the situation in Gaza is especially dire. The densely populated region, already struggling under a blockade that restricts the flow of goods and resources, has seen catastrophic damage from Israeli airstrikes. Hospitals are overwhelmed, infrastructure has been destroyed, and access to clean water, electricity, and medical supplies is critically limited. According to reports, thousands of civilians have died, and many more are injured or displaced. Israel, on the other hand, has also experienced significant civilian casualties, especially from rocket attacks and the initial ground assaults by Hamas fighters. These attacks were some of the deadliest Israel has seen in recent years, with many Israeli towns near the Gaza border hit hard. The international community has expressed growing concern over the scale of the violence. Calls for ceasefires have been made, though achieving a lasting truce has proven challenging due to the deep-rooted animosities and political complexities. Regional impact. The war has reverberated throughout the Middle East and beyond, affecting neighboring countries and the broader geopolitical landscape. For instance, Lebanon's Hezbollah, another militant group allied with Hamas and supported by Iran, has been involved in skirmishes with Israeli forces along the northern border, raising fears that the conflict could spread into a broader regional war. Iran, a longtime supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah, has also been accused of playing a role in the conflict, providing funding and weapons to these groups. Iran's involvement has complicated diplomatic efforts, as Israel and its Western allies view Iran's support for militant groups as part of a broader strategy to destabilize the region. In contrast, Egypt and Jordan, which have peace treaties with Israel, have tried to mediate and ease the violence. Egypt, in particular, has played a key role in brokering temporary ceasefires and negotiating the opening of humanitarian corridors into Gaza. However, even these efforts have been hampered by the intensity of the fighting and the divergent interests of the various regional actors. Global response. The international response to the war has been divided. Western nations, particularly the United States and European countries, have largely backed Israel's right to defend itself against Hamas's attacks. U.S. President Joe Biden reaffirmed Washington's support for Israel, although he also called for measures to protect Palestinian civilians and avoid further escalation. The U.S. has provided military aid to Israel, sparking protests from those who believe such support is exacerbating the conflict. In contrast, many nations in the global south, including several Muslim-majority countries, have condemned Israel's military actions and called for an immediate halt to the bombing of Gaza. The United Nations has repeatedly warned of war crimes being committed and has called for accountability on both sides. However, the UN's ability to intervene effectively is limited due to political divisions among its members, particularly in the Security Council, where the US holds veto power. Protests have erupted across major cities globally, with demonstrators calling for an end to the violence and more support for Palestinians. These protests have further polarized opinions, with some focusing on the humanitarian plight of civilians in Gaza and others on Israel's right to security in the face of terrorism. Prospects for achieving peace in the Middle East, especially between Israel and Hamas, remains an elusive goal. Many analysts believe that as long as the underlying issues, such as the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, the blockade of Gaza, and the lack of a viable Palestinian state, remain unresolved, the conflict will continue to flare up intermittently. Efforts to revive peace talks have been made, but trust between the two sides is at an all-time low. Any potential diplomatic solution will require both internal and external actors to compromise, which is incredibly difficult given the current climate of fear, mistrust, and anger. In conclusion, the war in the Middle East, particularly the latest round of violence between Israel and Hamas, is a tragic reminder of the region's deep-seated conflicts. The toll on civilians is heartbreaking, and while ceasefires may offer temporary relief, lasting peace remains distant without addressing the core issues at the heart of the conflict. The international community's role will be critical in shaping the future, but achieving a sustainable solution will require courageous diplomacy and a commitment to justice and reconciliation on all sides. Let's take a moment to express our condolences for all those who died in the war and give strength to those who have had accidents to get well. I pray that all the activities necessary to stop the war will be successful, and I pray that there will be peace between all countries. Also, if you are new to our channel, subscribe now and support us on our way to 1,000 subscribers. So, I hope to see you in a new video. Goodbye for today. Have a good day, everyone.